everyone. Welcome to the San Francisco Foundation's webinar on our grants portal, Fluxx. I'm here with Maria Healy. We're going to get started in just a minute. We just want to let people come through the virtual door, so to speak. Look, the number's just going up, but that always excites me.
Oh, good. What do we got?
We have 12 people.
Okay.
I want to get to 20, but we're hovering around 12.
That's okay.
Okay. Gonna give it 30 seconds.
Okay.
And whoever's, oh, look, we're at 14.
Oh, cool.
15 and counting. Well, again, welcome to you all to the San Francisco Foundation's webinar on our grants portal known as Fluxx. That's the name of the software. My name is Rakiba Labrie. I am the Vice President of Programs here at the San Francisco Foundation. I'm joined by my colleague, Maria Healy, who is the Senior Administrative Manager for Programs. And we are here to make sure that your Fluxx experience is as smooth and seamless as possible. We really strive to be responsive to the needs of our grantee partners and grant seekers. And we have received some feedback at times that Fluxx is not completely intuitive. And so we've begun to have these training sessions twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring, which correlates with our grant cycle. We have a fall grant cycle and a spring cycle. And so thank you for joining us. And with that, I'm going to just turn it over to Maria to take it away. She is an expert on all things Fluxx. We'll do a presentation and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Please put your questions in the Q&A box and I will send them off to Maria to answer them. Okay.
Yeah, feel free. Thanks, Rakiba. Hello,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
Thanks for joining us. As Rakiba said, my name is Maria Healy. I'm an administrative manager in the program/community impact department at the San Francisco Foundation. I work with staff, grant makers, and I work with our grants admin team. I'm not a grant maker myself, but I work in support of both teams, kind of triaging support around our grants portal, Fluxx. And we've got a brief agenda here today. We're gonna, hopefully all of you can see the screen. We're on our landing page, the San Francisco Foundation's landing page. We're gonna go through basic account creation and password creation, which are really, oddly enough, pain points. We know it isn't as easy as it can be, so we're hoping that this is helpful. We're going to go through that. We'll pause for questions. Then we're going to log in with the grantee view into Fluxx, our grants portal, and go through kind of, sort of navigating the pages there. And then we're going to spend a little time on what we call our organizational profile, which is a form that is important to us at the foundation. It is required, complete, of invitational grantees in addition to the application. It is a robust form, so we're going to go through it field by field. We ask grantee organizations to complete it once and then update it annually. Okay, so with that, what we typically advise with Fluxx, our grants portal, is to use Chrome as your browser. It seems to be the most friendly in Chrome. And just to say, Fluxx is not proprietary to us at the San Francisco Foundation. It is, a database on the marketplace for grants databases. Lots of foundations use it. So sometimes I encounter people saying, hey, I'm logged in, but I'm not seeing what I need to see. And what we discover is they're actually in another foundation's version of Fluxx. So I like to send people to our website, sff.org, and go to grantee login. You'll get here on the landing page. I'm going to minimize this a little bit. And Here's where the account creation and the password creation happen. For any of you who don't already have an account with us in our grants portal, or if you are unsure if you have an account with us, go ahead and come here and scroll down to create an account now. You can send an email to programs@sff.org, which is an email that I track daily. Saying, hey, I think I have an account, I'm not sure. But if you're not sure, there's no harm in just coming right here and clicking on create an account now. What you're going to see are fields that are asking for first information about your organization and then information about you specifically. And again, this is not going to create a duplicative organizational account. Say your organization has an account, but you don't. This is what you should do. Come and click on create an account now. Obviously, if your organization doesn't have an account, you're going to want to come here. But if you personally need one, come here. And we do, in order to log in to our grants portal, you got to have an account. So this is the step where you start. If you know your tax ID for your organization, you can pop it in here. You don't have to. You don't have to know it. You can leave that field blank. This is important if you are a fiscally sponsored organization. Please don't enter your fiscal sponsors information here. Fiscal sponsors have their own organizational and primary contacts accounts. So this is just for you. If you know your organization's tax ID, great. If you don't worry about it. Come in here. I'm going to create a fake one. I've done this before, so Andres is a dummy foundation. Put in basic information. Is super basic. Get the postal code. If you know your organization, here is where if you have an organizational email, go ahead and pop it in. When we get to the primary contact fields, that's where we ask for unique emails at your organization for you. As much information as you've got, go ahead and pop this in. And what this does is, obviously, if you are brand new to the San Francisco Foundation, this helps us. Or if your organization already does have an account, all this helps us confirm, okay, we don't need to create a new one. We've already got an account for this organization. Here's who this person needs to be connected to. I don't know our facts off the top of my head. I don't know our tax ID. Again, we reiterate, don't enter your fiscal sponsors. Here is where if you are a new staff member at your organization, you don't yet have an account with the organization, this is where you want to enter your information. And if the work phone, I believe, is not required, but we do need a good email address for you, and a unique one at your organization. Please do not use the info at there, because your unique email address actually becomes your username when you are logging into Fluxx. So if there's a bunch of staff using an info at, it's going to get messy getting into the system. This make me the primary user, don't worry too much about this. If you click yes, what that's going to do is you are going to be the primary contact for your organization on the organizational profile form. If that sounds right, if you're an ED or if you're in a role, where that makes sense, then say yes. If it doesn't make sense, say no. If you say yes and later you realize it doesn't make sense, that's totally fine. We can change it. So organization information, don't worry about don't be concerned with creating a duplicative account. The primary contact information, especially if you are a grant contact, working with a San Francisco Foundation staff grant maker, this is the information we want, because then we can list you as the grant contact, and all the communication about the application process and the grant will go to your unique email. You click submit, and you're going to get this message. Thank you for submitting your organization information. You will receive an email from us within 2 business days. We ask for 2 business days to give our grants admin team time to confirm this. It's considered an account registration. This helps us to make sure it's not, duplicative of an account that we've already got for you, and also to link you, if you're a new staff member, a new grant contact, to that account. This is a pain point for us. Often the email notification that your account has been confirmed gets spammed. It's got a crummy sender address, one of those do not reply at sender addresses. We're trying to get that changed. You feel free, if after a couple of days you get into the next week, you haven't heard from us, feel free to send an email to that programs@sff.org inquiry box and ask, say, hey, I submitted a registration. Can you check your grants database and let me know if I'm ready to create a password? Okay, I'm going to cancel out of this. I'm going to go to the return. And so that we can talk about the password. So that is your first step. Create an account now. When that account has been confirmed, the next step, also not super intuitive, is to come here and click on Forgot Password. It should say set password, create password. Some of this we can control. Some of it, by virtue of Fluxx being an out-of-the-box grants database, we can't. But this is where you're going to come to create a password. And here is where that unique organizational email comes into play. So you're going to pop that in here and hit submit, and you're going to get this message. And this email should come to you almost automatically with instructions on how to create a password, which, by the way, Fluxx passwords have to be 14 characters long. So apologies for that. What I would advise, what we advise to folks is, once you've created that password and you come here to log in, Chrome will ask you, would you like the system to save your password? Go ahead and click yes. And then, that's a good safeguard against forgetting that password. But once you're set and good to go, you can come in and log in. I am going to choose the grantee view so that you see what you will see as an applicant and/or a grantee. I'm going to pause right here. Any questions about account creation, password? Is there anything?
And just to remind people, please put your questions in the Q&A space. And Maria, there are no questions at this time.
Okay. So here you log in. Here's the landing page. Here's how you know it's our Fluxx, our grants portal. This first page is just pure information that is what we're doing is describing these sections over here. So, and that's what we're going to go through now. We're going to go on all of these and just run through what information is in these sections. But this first page, it's super basic information. Okay. So really the key, once you're in here, is this navigational panel. And what you want to do, especially if you are linked to more than one organization with us, you want to go up here and toggle to the information that you're looking for, that you are acting on behalf of, or who you're looking for information for. So I just popped in Andres there. That's that dummy organization I created. And with that, what forms relevant to your organization will populate in these sections. Okay, how to use the grants portal is the basic information. Apply now. you come here, we have a rolling program, the Rapid Response Fund for Movement Building, that is rolling all year round. It does pause during the winter holidays, and it pauses at the end of our fiscal year. But for the most part, this is an excellent small grant, timely movement building, projects related to movement building in local communities grant program. The Faiths Community Partner Grants, also an open annual program that just closed. But this is where you would come. These two programs are open on an annual basis. So this is where you would come to initiate a grant application there. I don't want to get too much into the guidelines for each of these programs. There's information on our website, and the forms have guidance and information there. But this is where you start those. If you do start an open application and need to take a break, if you enter some information or maybe just review it in one session, you want to take a break, complete it in future sessions, those are going to show in draft applications to complete. I'll reiterate that when we get there, but that's the correlation between apply now and draft applications to complete. Okay, so apply now is where you look for what open call programs the San Francisco Foundation is hosting. And annually, they are the Rapid Response Fund for Movement Building and the Faiths Community Partner Grants. If you want any more information about either of those, you can send us an email at programs@sff.org, or there's lengthy information on our website. We're going to hold the organizational profile form until that's the last piece on our agenda. People, this lets you know who has an account in our grants portal with your organization. If you see staff that have left, transitioned out of your organization, we'd appreciate hearing from you. We can archive those accounts if there's anything incorrect. We don't know unless you tell us. Draft applications to complete, I mentioned. These are dummy apps. But again, if you start an application to one of those open programs and need to save it and close it, when you log back in, this is where you come to find that. Invited applications to complete. These are where, if you are working with a staff grant maker in one of the two annual the batch grant making, the invitational grant making programs that Rakiba referenced. We have one in the fall, and we move a bunch of grants in the fall and a bunch of grants in the spring. If you're working with a grant maker who is going to send you the application, there's a lot of communication about the co-creation of the grant, and then we actually start entering that information in the grant form. Many of our staff grant makers go ahead and make that form. They initiate the form, with key information about your organization and the basic sort of specifications of the grants. And then they literally send it to you via a workflow button. And this is where you find it. And you will get a system generated notification. Once the app lead has taken that action, the app lead is CC'd on that email. It is not a pain point. It will find you via email. And it's got instructions on where to come. So you log in and you come here. You've got an edit button. And then there's guidance throughout the form. You've got save and close buttons. Same deal if you save one of these and need to complete it in consecutive sessions in the portal, you would come here. I believe that's right. If you don't see it, I believe that's right, that it stays in invited. Once you have completed it and hit save and close, you get a submit button. You submit it and it goes back to what we call app lead review, application lead review, and the staff grant maker who you are working with can see it there. Full applications to complete, we're not using that right now. Years ago, we had a two-step grant program where we asked for initial information and then a full application But that we are not using this section currently. Revisions required. There's nothing here now, but this is where in the invitational process, if in your back and forth, your work with the staff grant maker, they get your submitted invitational grant form with all the information that you entered. If upon their review of that, they have more questions, or maybe, you want to redo something, they again can send it back to you and it'll be in here. Because it's sort of revisions on what was initially submitted. Okay, submitted, pretty straightforward. You can come in here, and we've got more statuses, excuse me, in our internal workflow than we make visible here, but under review pretty much captures from the time you've submitted your application to the time it gets to approved, which can take a number of weeks. So you're welcome to reach out and kind of get more specificity. Some of our grant programs do use an external review function. The invitational grant programs don't. But that's why you may check on your application a number of days or even a couple of weeks in a row and still see under review. That's just the term we use to capture, all the work that we do, our internal approval workflow, which has to do with the budgets in play, grants admin doing, compliance review, our CEO approving the grant, Rakiba looking at the grant, all that is captured under review. So please don't be concerned if that status doesn't change. Declined for future reference are here. Grants. These are active grants. Oopsie. So active grants, you can come here if you want to review a grant that is active, meaning it's still within the grant period. You can also, if you're looking for a grant agreement on a grant that's been approved, you can come here and access the grant agreement. Just trying to find where that would be. Sorry for the scrolling. It's hoping to show, it should be in the documents section. It should be in the application documents. If you have any issue finding that, we didn't actively approve this grant, so I'm not seeing everything. It's a dummy grant, but it should be in your documents section in this active grant section. If you have any question or you don't see it, email programs@sff.org. The key thing to help us is the tracking ID, the grant ID. We can locate that quickly and send you a copy of the grant agreement. Closed grants. This is where you will see, if you are a repeat frequent grantee of ours, you'll see closed grants. You may see grants that are actually inactive, but the grant period is ended. We are in the process of moving a slew of grants that have actually ended so that they actually show in closed and not active. And we appreciate if you see grants that have ended, that you have completed your check-ins, your reports, if there were any assigned, the work is done, the grant period is ended. Again, reach out and we can move those to closed. It's a bit of a big process for us. There's a lot of data in grants to migrate from one status to the next. And so that is in progress doing that work. All right, that's grants. Then we get into grantee reports and check-ins. Some of you may know a couple of years ago, we revamped our progress and final reporting documents, process, structure to annual check-ins. They are largely conversational. We've had great feedback about that. There are check-ins that are written. However, the volume of them, most of them are done conversationally. There's still a form which you can view here, but for conversational check-ins, typically you and the app lead set a date to speak. The app lead takes notes. They enter those notes in the form, and then they make it available for you. Awaiting grantee review, that's where you would find a check-in that an app lead has entered notes into. We send them to you for review to confirm that's authentic. The data is correct. There's no editing that needs done. There's comments fields there where you can input if you're like, no, that's actually not what I meant, or, please, can we change this to that? And we can take action on that. If you don't access these in 30 days, we do approve on your behalf so we can move them along. And also, if there's payments contingent on them, we don't want to hold that up. There are still written check-ins assigned to grants, especially if your organization is a C4. It is a requirement. We can't do conversational check-ins. We've got to do written reports. Annual reports for every one of a C4's fiscal years, as well as a final report at the end of the grant that includes financial reporting. So you will see those here as well. So this is a combination of those types of reports that are still, written. There's still a measure of formality to them, along with our annual check-ins, which are really less formal and largely about collecting learnings and understanding learnings from the grant, and also what opportunities, what barriers in general you're seeing as you do your work. And then approved check-ins would be here. Payments, if you're coming to check on a payment, I don't know that we've got, again, these Andres are dummies, so nothing's going to show, but you will see scheduled payments here if you've got a multi-year grant with us, or a payment that is contingent on a check-in, or on a report. Some of those, we do that especially over multi-years. I believe for C4s, we may have to collect a report to let a second payment go, that kind of stuff. So those will show as scheduled. And if you see the term contingent, that means there's a report there. And if you have any questions about that, let us know. The last thing we want to do is hold up a payment because we're not both on the same page about what we need to get that payment to you.
And I just want to remind people once again, please put your questions in the Q&A space. So far, no questions.
Okay, yeah, I know I'm speaking really fast. We are recording this. It's pretty straightforward. Maybe, Rakiba, that's a good sign. No questions, because it's just crystal clear. Again, I think I cannot reiterate enough. The grants portal is fairly easy to navigate. The toughest part for us, which we are trying to improve, is that account creation, getting the communication clear, getting you with a setup password, making sure you're connected to the correct organization. And there's a crew of us, myself included, and colleagues on grants admin team who triage and troubleshoot a lot. All right. Well, if there are no questions about basic navigation, let's dive into the organizational profile. This form, and again, Rakiba and I do want to go through the form field by field. It is, as I mentioned, a robust form, meaning there are a lot of fields on it. It is required for invitational grantees, and your app lead will talk to you about that. If you are a repeat grantee, a grantee partner, working with a staff grant maker, you are already familiar with this form. And again, we just need it completed annually and then updated, or completed once rather, and then updated annually. So you come in, you click on edit. Sorry, taking a little bit of time. And we've got some instructional language here about fields being required, why we asked. And again, reiterating what I just said, asking for a complete form and then updates per year. This information here, the organization contact information, this should look familiar because when you create an account, you're in essence creating the first section of your organizational profile form. If you, link yourself as the primary contact. Your name will be, where is it? Maybe because I didn't enter it. It should appear, oh, here we go. Your name will appear there. And again, if that doesn't sit right, if that doesn't make sense, we can update that. But again, that account creation form starts the org profile. This here is asking if you're awarded a grant, do we have your consent to include your name when we share basic grant information externally on the website and with other philanthropic data sharing organizations such as Candid, which used to be GuideStar. It's that big IRS nonprofit organization database. So that's what this is. Yes or no, but we do need an answer there. Sometimes, if that's left blank, it can cause you to be unable to submit. Core work, what type of organization are you? If you're other, let us know, just type it in, that's free text. These have the selection values. Do you engage in policy and advocacy? Direct services, community organizing, and we give a definition there, at least of how we view it. Organization mission, you are more than welcome to pop in the mission from your website. Again, this is great for learning. It also is very good to share with our colleagues in the team that works with donors who may be interested. Donors are very interested in organizations doing direct services. And any of this core work, it's helpful to us to educate donors on equity agenda, equity-oriented grantees who our staff are working with, who are doing work that donors to the foundation who have funds here and make grants of their own may be interested in granting to. And that's a big effort at the foundation. Yes.
Maria, I'm pleased to report we have a question from
Okay, great.
Roxanne. If you are the programmatic lead, but not the fiscal sponsor lead, is there a place for us to be the contact for SFF events and meetings? That's interesting. So Roxanne, did
Yeah.
you not get the invitation to this thing? Did you have to get it from your fiscal sponsor?
Right. So again, fiscal sponsors have their own organizational form. That is a good question. I don't have an accurate answer as to where. I believe that we pull invitees to events from the grant contacts rather than the organization contacts. We go right to our applicant grant makers and ask them who's the best person to get this invitation to.
And thanks for flagging this, Roxanne.
Yeah, that's a good.
So we should then notify our marketing and communications and other folks that we want to draw from the lead of the actual funded entity.
I think we want to do both. I mean, I think
both.
Yeah, and Rakiba, you and I can tell, we did this recently. We will take this offline, but that's a good question. It's a good sort of gap there for us in how we're capturing people, because we only have so many fields on so many forms where we get a name and an email address. But thank you for the question, and Rakiba and I we'll put our heads together on that.
Yes, thanks, Roxanne. Oh, wait, we have another thing.
Okay, great.
So Beth says, we had a different primary contact last year for BAFA, and he got invited to this, but I am currently working on a new application, and I did not get it.
Okay.
May have just been that primary contact recently changed, but would be good for both of us to get.
Yeah. Agreed.
So it's unfortunate
agreed.
Is that clear to you? So we had a different primary contact last year for BAFA, and he got invited to this, but I am currently working on a new application and I did not get it. So if you're working on a new application and we're not involved with the previous application, it would be hard for us to know that.
Right, exactly. I think, again, with conceding that this is imperfect, I think we went with approved grants, the most recent grant contact rather than the most recent partner that a staff grant maker may be working with. So
Beth,
again,
did you have any involvement with the previous grant? Are people able to come off mute? I don't think so. We have some special webinar arrangement.
yeah,
But Beth, if you have a chance, just put it in the Q&A whether you were actually in any way involved or listed as a contact in connection with the last grant, because that's the only way we could have
right.
gotten. No,
Our,
they can't unmute. Okay.
send the email, Beth, send it to programs@sff.org. And, you know, if not for us to solve it immediately, because this is a little bit of a, you know, there's so many grantees and so many contacts, and we often try and, you know, who will this get to? Who's the most current person we've been working with? I totally appreciate what you're saying. And I think if I'm understanding what you're describing, we went with the most recently approved grant and that contact. And if I'm understanding what you're saying, you're working now with a new grant request or you know, a new support. So we may have, you know, missed that, and we just simply have to choose. But if you send the email, we'll flag it. We'll flag it for our marketing and communications team and for our app leads, who, you know, maybe need to encourage their contacts. Please share this with colleagues who may be working with a current request.
I have a question, Maria. So say BAFA got a grant did get a grant last year,
Yeah.
say they had Joe as the contact. After the grant has been made and is nearing the end of the term, a grantee partner can still go in and edit the contact information?
No, they
No.
can request that we edit. Say if Joe transitions and this person wants to be communicated about future activity with the grant. But no, once the grant's approved, you know, we don't want to change that information for a lot of reasons. But you can always reach out and request to be made the contact. And people do that, especially with annual check-ins, which are post-grant, right? So there may be a contact, perhaps they transition from the organization. That's when we really do need to know, who should our grant makers speak to?
And actually, Beth says she's been working with Cynthia, one of our colleagues, and did change the primary contact.
Okay.
And then Roxanne suggests maybe a box or field can be added for the program lead
On the organizational profile?
if it's a fiscally sponsored grant. I thought there was a contact for the fiscal sponsor and a contact for the funded entity. Roxanne, there is this place where you should be able to put your contact information as the funded entity.
Yeah, on the grant form, there is a funded entity contact and a fiscal sponsor contact.
Can you show that, please?
I'm not, let's see.
Not so easy.
How about, can we hold that and do that?
Yes, we'll hold that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
remind me, Ricky, because I'm concerned I'm
I'll
gonna
remind you.
But for sure. And that's just a good flag that we're perhaps not reaching, you know, relevant contacts. Not relevant, that's not the right word, but interested contacts for invites for the event, for our events rather. All right, where were we? Organization mission. All right, so again, key information about your organization. Then we get into who you serve, where you serve, and or who you impact, where you impact, who you do your work with, and where you're doing your work. You can choose organizations, and we obviously don't ask for an estimate on people served. You can choose people, or you can choose both. And, you know, this is important to us for a number of reasons. Estimates are perfectly fine. We know this is hard. We pull from this at the end of our grant making to do kind of a portfolio analysis, so we can look at where our grants are in play, the investments, where our partners are doing their work. It's very helpful for the grant makers to see, you know, all together. It's super helpful for our board of trustees as we, you know, kind of share stories about the grant making. And it leads to decisions and maybe pivots in decisions and strategies. So that's that is this. And again, estimates, I cannot, impress upon you enough. Estimates are just fine. We also, if you're unsure where your work may be impacting, there's a link to the Bay Area Equity Atlas on our website. You're free to use census data. Then we try and drill down and get more specific with the race and ethnicity of the people who you are working with. Again, estimates are just fine. We do ask that this adds up to 100. So estimates as best you can. We're also, please send feedback if the definitions of the race and ethnicities are not authentic, are missing. We're always updating there and trying to learn and just obviously be inclusive and give visibility. So estimates, I can't say that enough. We know that's challenging if you don't collect the data or if you don't collect it in the way we ask for it. Age range is something we're very interested in, especially around, youth, adults, and then seniors, kind of breaking that down. Then we ask about populations, in part because we have got restricted funds that were left to us by people who have died, who left in their estate, in their will, a certain amount of money that is a part of our endowment, where they directed, I want this percentage annually to go out to organizations working with boys and men of color, working with incarcerated, formerly incarcerated. So we literally have, we call them restricted funds because they have this purpose and restriction, but we do have those here. And we have a group of grant makers who are doing a great job reaching out to organizations in community, working with these populations that by virtue of the work they're doing and the purpose of the fund left to us, it's a match and we can make a grant to that organization. And we're proud of that work, and we do it every year as much as we can to get those dollars out. Given the intersectionality of the qualities of these populations, this obviously doesn't have to add up to 100%. We're really just interested. If you are working with those specific populations, let us know. If you're not, you can click here. Geography impacted. Where are you doing your work? And this recently has changed. I'm going to delete some of these so I can add. You go here and you can drill down to counties and some neighborhoods, some cities and some neighborhoods. You choose and advance. Choose and advance and hit add. And it should show once I'm gonna hit save. Hope we don't get into it. What I wanted to point out is that we used to ask for you to choose percentages around that. Here they are. And we no longer do that because we weren't really working with that data to the degree that was useful. And we found for grantees, it was difficult to break that down. What we have found is that because we're asking for percentages as recently as a couple of years ago, and now we're not, this might look a little wonky. You might get, if you are going in to update your form, you might show some percentages that a staff member entered a couple of years ago, but now you can't. That's perfectly fine. If it disallows you from submitting or you get some kind of an error message, reach out because we know that we changed that. And sometimes when you change these forms, it confuses things. But that is geography impacted. You can drill down and choose. You don't have to select percentages if you're working in more than one place. Organizational staffing. This is obviously, we're interested in this. Who's working at your organization? Letting us know the race, the ethnicity of your leadership group, your board, your staff. a few more questions about your ED or CEO, so we can get more information around the leader of your organization. If you have a co-director, you can click here and let us know about that person. Best you can. You can, I believe we're going to be adding, if you do not, have an executive director, if you don't have a formal, typical management structure, you can select that you don't have it, and those questions go away. Same goes if you don't yet, or don't have a board, or don't yet have a board, you can, same deal. And I think here's for directors and executive management. And we must have, there should be, I will confirm, but there should be a similar box here where you can select that if you do not have that kind of structure at your organization. Staff and non-leadership positions. Same goes, give us an estimate of the number of staff based on race, ethnicity. And save is your friend on this form. Fluxx does not auto-save. So as you enter data, please hit save. Let's see what's under staff. Exempt and non-exempt. Same goes. Enter numbers. Hit save. Again, there should be those check boxes to remove tables if your structure is not what we're asking for. I want to scroll back up to people and geography before we get to the end of the form, because if you are completing a invitational grant form with us, one of the reasons why we want you to complete your organization, if you're working with a grant maker on project support, we ask for this type of information about the project, because we don't want to assume that the people who you are impacting working with on an organization level is the same as who you're working with on the project level. So this data gets pulled into the invitational form for project support grants. There is a toggle there where we ask you and say, here's what it looks like on your org profile. Is this the same? You can say yes, and you're set. You can say no, and enter clean data, fresh data, unique data for the project that you're working on. So that's another reason, just sort of a functional reason, how the org profile and the invitational grant application actually work together. They're literally integrated on project support grants. All right. So staffing, all that again, if you've got it, we love to see it. If you don't have it, there's the means by which to hide those tables. Financial health. We don't ask for a lot, but we ask for a budget range, excuse me, and a fiscal year start date. Organization documents. You are welcome to upload anything you'd like for us to see or preserve on your organizational form. Also, when you enter your tax ID, given that our Fluxx syncs with Candid GuideStar, that IRS database for nonprofits, it'll read that and automatically upload your most recent audited financial statements and any other financial documents that are on file in Candid with your organization. Okay. Then, and a lot of people miss this, the last piece, we ask for you to type your name, initials are okay, just as a confirmation that this is accurate by virtue of what, best you can do. You hit save. And this form probably isn't complete, but yours will be, and you will get a submit button down here. You'll have save and close until the form's complete. And then you'll get a submit. You click submit and you're good. You're good for the year, you're good for that grant. The organizational, the applicant, excuse me, will see that. You get a banner saying the organizational profile is complete, and then you can focus on the application. And again, you need not return to this form unless you want to update the information until the following year. Okay, I know we want to look at the grant form, but is there any questions on the org profile?
No.
Okay, well, let's see if I can find a grant form real quick to show you what we are talking about. Okay, so we have got, say you have been invited to complete a pathway invitational form. You see it here. Now, the fields Rakiba and I are referencing. I'm going to change the eligibility on this to fiscally sponsored so that you can see. And I'm going to hit save just so that takes that. Okay. So here is where you get through application request. That's the basic specs on the grant. Here is where we load the primary contact. That is the current grant person at your organization who is actively working with a staff grant maker now. Authorized signatory is the person best suited in your organization to complete a grant agreement if we need one signed via DocuSign and returned to us to release funds, which for any grant over $100,000, we do. We ask for a financial contact because that helps us if your organization isn't already set up for ACH or direct deposit of grant funds. This contact is who we work with to get that done. So that is one contact field we have. The other for fiscally sponsored is here. If you are fiscally sponsored, we are going to ask you who your contact is there and for their email address. And we like to have that on file because if we don't have a current, agreement document, our grants admin team will reach out to your contact at your fiscal sponsor to confirm the relationship, which is part of the compliance review that they do if the grant is structured with a fiscal sponsor. So those are the only two significant contact fields that we have that and honestly, I don't know that we pull from the fiscal sponsor contact for event invitations. We go to our grantee contact. And it is that primary contact, and we can only have one. So that is why last year, the contact on the grant that was referenced last year was on that invite list rather than who is working with a grant maker now. But we've noted that and we'll put our heads together about how we might share invitations with past and current contacts. All right, there's our org profile. Here's our grants portal. Again, Chrome, sff.org, grantee login. Start with account creation, reach out if there's any issues there. We'll get you set up with a password, and then this is, you can log in, and this navigation panel is where your key documents are.
Yeah, thank you all. There are no questions right now, so we're going to send you a thank you with a link to the recording that will be posted on YouTube. And we're also going to include a survey for you to let us know how we did, if there's anything else you would want us to emphasize. So Thank you. We have 18 people who held on for the duration.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great rest of your day.
Have a great time.
Bye.
Bye.